And I think I lowered the volume, so it should be betterer, the intro. Oh, it's like doing a weird... Oh, that was a weird transparency thing. I have to fix that later. Hello. This is the Millennial Podcast. I'm Sunny. What's going on? This is a podcast about millennials talking about life and tech and gaming and politics. I'm Sunny. Kendra's over there somewhere.
Hey.
And Greg is over there somewhere.
Hello.
Hello. Sweet. So, just very quickly, I guess before we get into this, vaccines coming next week, baby. Boom.
Oh.
Boom. Yes. So that's nice. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. I just want to...
Still like last in line though.
I know. But just, there's some hope out there, you know? You know what I mean? That if you go to the hospital, you're not going to accidentally get COVID because some healthcare worker has COVID because, they're out there in the front.
I thought you still could though. Like they could still be spreading even if they have the vaccine. It's just they won't get it.
Well, okay, we can get into this. Yeah, I'm not sure. I assume because you have the vaccine, it doesn't live in you because your body's killing it, right? So then, it can't survive. So then it can't. I'm sure it can spread a little bit, but probably can't spread as much because there's not much of it alive. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is what I think. But anyways, we can get into that in the other segment. Put some hope, because I need hope right now.
Hopium.
Hopium. But speaking of lies, video games, Cyberpunk came out, guys.
Have you been playing?
No, I think I talked about this before, but it's like, it's a weird thing for me because it's like I want to play this, but at the same time, man, this game totally came out with a bunch of bugs, and I totally saw that coming. It's like you're trying to make a AAA title in a pandemic. It's I mean, I don't know if it was feature creep. Do you guys know what I mean by that?
They just keep adding stuff in and extending the deadline.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Or like the release date.
yeah. I mean, when was Cyberpunk even announced?
I've looked it up. It was like, let me
It was
see.
2008, right? Right? Something like that.
First announced 2012, which is still a long time.
That's a long time. So I mean, what's that, Kendra?
No, 8 years ago. I was just saying 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Kendra, I think you're a little low.
Turn your mic up.
But yeah, it's been a really long time, and I think with games like that, I can see a want for the game quality to be a certain level. And first of all, the game destroys like the RTX 3090. You can't run it at 4K 60 FPS. I don't think so. I mean, just from some of the they already benchmarked some of them already. Yeah, 4K at ultra. I don't think this is ultra ray traced. I think this is just ultra. It's running at 49 FPS. So this is the new what is it?
Crisis. Yeah.
I think this is the new Crisis. Because there's like a really awesome video that Linus put up of him trying to run 8K. I mean, it is crazy, but I don't know. Like you get a Canadian $2,000 card. You kind of want it to run pretty high. But Yeah, so there's a lot of like optimization and bugs that need to be fixed and things that need to be done. So it was a pretty rough start. I'm just observing from someone who hasn't played it. I think it kind of helps because like you're not like, I don't know, I'm not like a super duper fan of like the studio. So not that I don't like the games, it's just I never played Witcher, but you have, right, Greg?
SMH. Yeah, Witcher 2, like the demand, like the resource demand for Witcher 2 is crazy. Like there's cards today that still can't handle it.
So it's badly optimized.
Yeah, I'm finding a video here, right? Witcher 2 with a 2080 Ti. Well, Witcher 2 here, let's. Witcher 2 came out in 2011. 80 Ti's are like, what, 3 years old max?
Yeah,
2 years?
that's crazy.
And he can't even get more than 40 FPS.
Oh, yeah. See, that's just badly
Yeah.
optimized, I think. But yeah, I think raw power. It's pretty. Why is it? See, this is weird to me because I could see why, because it's like, oh, are we allowed to show this stuff?
Yeah. I mean, you could just skip that part if you want. I think it's too late.
I was trying to skip it, but
It's
no, I was
okay.
just trying to say the cloth on this is like, it's so funny because like the cloth on this is like insanely like high resolution. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's so high resolution. Like the fabric on on that thing is like it's moire. It's having like a moire effect. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like that screen door. If you walk too far away from it, it starts like distorting and stuff because all the lines are blurring into each other. But then you look
Yeah.
at like his chest and like the bite mark on his neck, and it's like it's so low resolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so funny. But yeah, this is kind of nuts. I guess this is
Like this is an old game too, so like that's like
yeah.
for when it came out, it was definitely it's still like looks better than it looks as good as some games that are coming out today still.
Yeah, I mean it does look pretty good. In the parts that does look high res, it looks really good. Like some of his hair and his face and the beard and
Like this
stuff
game
like
came
that.
out a few years before 4 or 5 years before Fallout 4.
Before Fallout 4. Oh
Just to give you
wow.
an idea of like,
Yeah. Whoa, hello. Look at all
like the hair.
look at all those tents. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But look, he can't even get like he's got 43 FPS.
It's bonkers. Don't worry, Kendrew. Your graphics card's gonna come. Don't worry. Kendrew's just watching this being like,
Yeah.
I hate you guys.
I mean, it's okay. Angry.
I'm projecting.
Yeah.
I'm like here complaining with my Radeon 7 being like, no, I want to run it. I want to run it at like 80 FPS. But
This clock, though, like, doesn't look that bad. Like as like a casual. This
yeah,
looks
Greg
fine.
was saying 2012, right?
2012. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
not bad at all.
that's really good. Yeah.
Mm.
Again, I think there's a lot of inconsistency though. Like there is a certain standard at which they wouldn't let it go. They wouldn't let certain assets through these days. I'm having a hard time finding one right now, but but yeah. I mean, it's pretty good. In the tent, I think when there's like a lot of props, there's it's one of those things where they had to cut the time or whatever.
Like Battlefield 3 came out when this came out.
Mm.
Battlefield 3,
Yeah,
Crisis 2.
Battlefield games are really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Uh,
the thing about this, right, though, is like you can see the texture effort and like it's really good and well done, like art wise.
yeah.
But then if you go to like it's funny, it's like all the Cyberpunk videos are like all poo pooing it and stuff, but
Yeah.
um
Mass Effect 2 came out the same year as that, as Witcher 2.
Mass Effect 2, I tried playing Mass Effect 2 again um
Yeah.
a couple years ago, I think, to try to oh no, not Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3 I tried to play and it was
Mm.
oh man, it was not good. I was
Yeah.
like, nope, I can't do it. It's way too low res.
Did you play Andromeda?
No, I think I got scarred from playing Mass
3.
Effect 3. I was just like, well,
Yeah.
because I wanted to play Mass Effect 3 because I wanted to continue the story, but like
Mm.
it was just so bad that I didn't want to finish the rest of it. But I heard that they're gonna remaster Witcher 3 and Mass Effect 3, I believe.
That's what,
So
like Witcher 3 just came. Like they're just remastering it for next gen,
yeah.
right?
Which is for me that's fine because I kind of do want to play Witcher 3,
Yeah.
and then I definitely want to finish finish Mass Effect 3 because I want to know what's going on. But
But like
and then
Witcher 3 has mod support. So like Witcher 3 with mods might look as good or better than whatever remastered thing they make.
hey, yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. It seems like a lot of resources to put into something that people would rather just like a sequel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Sure, I mean I know a sequel costs more, but like, put all that money towards that.
yeah, for sure.
Or like heck, I'd even rather like a crazy animated short for The Witcher over a remastered. Like Witcher 3 isn't like a super old game.
Yeah, but then we
It
go
is
through
2015. I mean, it's still not that old to get a remastered.
yeah, and now we're doing some. Don't worry, these are spoiler free, so don't worry.
All right.
But yeah, like Youngya's review was interesting. But like, damn, this game, this see the difference between what we were just watching, right? Like Witcher 3, like it looks detailed, but then when you watch this, it's like the lighting is just so much more accurate, and the
Oh
materials
yeah, yeah.
are much more real looking.
Well, this is like, yeah, I would compare it to Witcher 3 at least, because 2 is even older.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still gonna be way better lighting and stuff.
Yeah, it's just the and honestly, I think one of the things that I heard that people liked was the animation. Um I think that's something that I think more gaming studios should focus on. Is like
Yeah,
really good animation that really draws people in.
you can notice it too. Like it's not like it might be subtle, but like it makes such a huge difference. Like natural looking animations and stuff that
Yeah,
aren't
exactly.
like all clunky and like, oh, why is his arm moving like that type of thing? Not there, but like in
Yeah,
other stuff.
for sure. But yeah.
Like Fallout animations.
Oh man, yeah. I was playing Fallout 76 is hilarious because you're just like, oh yeah, I remember how bad this game is, but I love it so much that I don't care.
Yeah.
And I know I'm ignoring it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just I just can't not do it. Yeah. I know Greg's gonna be busy with other games, but yeah. Kendra, I guess once you get your PC, you cyberpunking it up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might get Cyberpunk, but even if I
Yeah.
had my new PC, I wouldn't have gotten it right away. I would have waited till
Mm.
all these reviews and stuff.
Like
Yeah.
6 months from now, right?
Yeah. Sick.
That's
Wait,
probably what
years or
I'm
months?
thinking.
I didn't. You cut out.
Months.
Okay.
At least it'll be like a bit like less clipping, maybe. Because like I saw a lot of clipping videos where like
Clipping videos?
yeah, like they just like where they're just like if they're sitting down, they're like on top of the car and stuff like that.
Oh.
Just like
Yeah.
more visual bugs is more what I'm not willing to sacrifice for because I like immersiveness, so I'll just wait. I don't need this game right now type thing.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a good game to wait for updates. Because they're going to fix quite a bit of this stuff, so.
Yeah, exactly. Like the game I'll definitely get, but I'll just like not bother to wait for it compared to like other people
Yeah, even
complaining.
yeah. Yeah, even like I think the day before it came out, the reviewers were talking about how the launch day, the review copy and the launch day updates were like pretty different. Like they fixed quite a bit. So it's still not perfect, but I think if you go to the Cyberpunk game subreddit, like you'll see a lot of the bugs because people love posting it there. But yeah, it'll get fixed just like any game. I think it's just unfortunate that it's a balance, right? It's like you got to promise a certain day and it's been announced for a very long time. So it's like, I think it's got to come out at some point.
Yeah, like they couldn't delay it longer, or else it'd be even worse PR than if they did release, or like worse PR than what it is now, right?
Mm-hmm. And now I'm just thinking about it now. I think if anything, this is probably a good time for it to come out because you can say that the excuses for all of the bugs and stuff is just like
Just blame
pandemic.
COVID.
Yeah, just blame
Yeah.
COVID,
COVID.
like everyone's using COVID as an excuse right now, like corporations, governments, just like it's not our fault.
Yeah. Like, did you
COVID.
know businesses never fail when there's no pandemic? 100% of businesses succeed. Therefore,
Yes. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Like working on 3D stuff. I mean, I guess this goes for people working at home. It's just like, man, when you're working on computer things and especially art at home for work, it's just like it just never ends because just like, oh yeah, we can make this look better. We can make this look better. Hey, you got time? You're at home. Well, they don't say that, but it's like there's a lot
Like,
of I don't know. Well, yeah, I shouldn't say it's implied, but you kind of feel like, oh yeah, it's like on paper, you're working at home. You don't have to drive. You don't have to commute to work. You don't have to go out for lunch. It's like technically on paper, you should be more productive at home. I think you know what? I think you would be more productive at home, but because everyone's so like cabin fever, like it's just hard to concentrate sometimes. And like, yeah, I'm
that's the case
speaking.
at work sometimes too, right? Like, it's probably different per person, but like, there's people who mess around a lot in the office too that have
Yeah,
less distractions when they're at home. Like, I know some people who said they're more productive at home, and yeah, others say the opposite.
yeah.
Like
I
Jared,
don't know.
one of the guys that I went to high school with, said because also he has a newborn, so he can help with the
Oh
kid and
man,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
But
I think it helps families. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
But I don't know. What about you, Kendra?
uh, like I mean, if it was like non-pandemic related, this is like sweet deal. But
Mm-hmm.
I guess like 8 months into this now, it's just like every day just seems like the same day, and like
Yeah. Oh
you're
man.
just like, what the hell am I doing, man?
Yeah.
Like it just makes everything not as worthwhile, I guess. It's just like you just wake up, you work, you go to bed, repeat, and you haven't even left the spot, right?
Yeah. I have my computer in my bedroom, and it's just like, yep, I could technically just stay in this room for a long time. Just go out to get food and then come back, and
Yeah.
then that's about it.
Like, yeah, like I'm fine. Like the staying home part. Like I don't have the cabin fever thing, but it's just like the um. I guess maybe this is why I'm like such a big proponent of UBI. It's just like having like a floor, and then you can have like that freedom to choose what you actually want to do. It's like what I like really wish for. But it's
Yeah.
like right now it's like I understand there's obviously more people that are suffering because of this, so I shouldn't complain too much, but I mean everyone has like their own circumstances, right? So
Yeah.
that's
It's
my 2 cents on that, I guess, because it just feels like every day is the same, and you're not growing intellectually or anything. It's just like everything is like it's almost like Groundhog Day every day.
yeah.
Which me I should watch that movie actually.
Oh man, that movie's crazy. It has a lot of like analogies to real life. I think that's why I don't know. Yeah, I like that movie. It's got a lot of like dark humor, and you could kind of see a lot of commentary on life from that movie as
Yeah.
well. Highly recommend. It's a good movie.
Yeah, for sure. But
But
that's like in terms of like work from home and stuff, it's like the idea is really nice without the pandemic, but combined with it, I guess it kind of adds up, I guess.
yeah, for sure. Have you tried like? Is there anything you tried to like change it up? I guess video games helps.
Yeah. Like I'm reading way more, but
Nice,
I want to read more now. Actually, like I want to read twice as much, but there's
nice.
like not enough time in the day.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like, ah man, I kind of wish I could just like work half a day and then just read. But then, you know,
4 day work week.
financially, yeah, financially, that's not the best plan.
Yeah.
Or it's not even allowed. It's not even a plan, right?
Yeah.
I need a get rich quick scheme, man.
Well,
You guys,
That's true.
I do help. I do need help with the podcast. So, if we can do this
it's not a get
every
rich quick scheme though.
do. Hey, man, get that Joe Rogan Spotify deal.
Yeah.
Like, actually, like, I guess we could touch a bit on that. Like, what catapulted that Joe Rogan podcast into what it is now? Like, were you guys listening to it when it started, or like when
No,
did you guys?
he started a long time ago.
Yeah, it's almost 10 years old, something like that.
It was a long like his old video. I think didn't we watch one of his old videos? In one of
Yeah, the one where he was getting high with the other MMA guy.
Yeah, it's like a really old Eddie Bravo.
I'll take back my get rich quick scheme thing though, because like that, obviously it doesn't work in real life. So, but yeah, like
Yeah.
what do you guys remember when you first tuned into him, or when you first heard about him?
Oh, I mean, I've known him since before the podcast because of like Fear Factor and
Yeah,
news radio.
Yeah. It's been a long time. I can't remember
like
exactly when.
were you guys drawn to him like pre-podcast then? Like you
No,
already knew him, you followed him, and then
no,
and then you started the
like
podcast.
no, I just knew him because like he had some like popular famous people on it, and I was like, oh, like I want to watch a Neil deGrasse Tyson. I watched a bunch of his like interviews, and then he happened to be one of them. Also, it was like a Joe Rogan interview.
Hmm.
So
What
just
about
went from
yourself, Sonny?
Yeah, no, yeah, I think that's usually why people watch Joe Rogan or bump into Joe Rogan, cause like, oh, he has like this guest on, and then it's like really interesting, like usually like more like people who talk about like I don't know, like mushrooms or like scientists who talk about like psychedelics or like stuff about space or Yeah, and then like other comedians that I liked. But yeah, I can't remember exactly when, because I started getting into podcasts because of comedians, I guess. So maybe it was Joe Rogan, but yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, so like I guess I was also down in that rabbit hole of I will admit I was sort of like a more of a centrist back then, and like listening to like was it Sam Harris and stuff, and then like and Joe Rogan, and then yeah, a lot of science podcasts and stuff. And then I guess on the face of it, that stuff seems like okay, but then it all got real, and people started really actually saying what they thought. And then realizing that these people are super racist and bigoted and closed-minded. But
And as much as I don't label Joe as that, he'll come up with every excuse that he can think of to defend those people's opinions.
yeah,
Which is why I kind of have I never watched Joe's comedy. Like I've seen bits,
oh,
but like
I
I
never
never
watched.
actually found him like a funny comedian at all.
Yep, I
Like
agree.
at any sense. Like he's friends with, the best comedians that have lived in our lifetimes. But him himself if he didn't have the podcast, he would be like a comedian. Like, okay, let's do it this way. I like Patton Oswalt, but like he's not as big a comedian as some of these other guys, and
Yeah.
I think Joe would be kind of in that if all he was doing was the UFC stuff and comedy. Like if he didn't do the podcasting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, we all grow and change, and now I'm a hardcore lefty. But yeah, I only really listen to him when he. Actually, I don't even really listen to Joe Rogan at all these days.
Same.
Yeah, it's usually only like
having interesting people on that I found interesting.
Yeah. I think he had somebody on after Ben Shapiro, and then I forgot his name.
Duncan.
Yes,
Trussell?
yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I want to listen to that whole podcast because I'm like Duncan.
Yeah.
Duncan was like, why the fuck did you have Ben Shapiro on? That guy's a moron. And then Joe is like trying to defend him and stuff.
Like
Joe really is a centrist though, like, because he's trying to like, whatever, have like, see both sides and do all that shit, but at the same time, it's just like, yeah, it's
I don't think
thing.
so. I think as a centrist, it's I think I think he could listen to that stuff not as a centrist, but the fact that he defends it and doesn't critique it is what makes him the centrist. Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, I'm gonna have this right-wing person on and interview them and debate or whatever, even if I'm myself not a centrist or a right-winger.
Right.
But then if like the person says bad opinions or things that are flat out wrong, and then I just don't say anything, like, then that's what I think is the problem, and that's what Joe does, and why I'm glad Trussell he got called out for it, because it was like, oh, but he's a nice guy. Well, it's like, yeah, well, nice guys can be racist too.
Yeah, exactly.
like they can be nice and then have the most horrible opinions of people when they're even just by presenting them nicely. Like, that's what Joe kind of fails to understand.
Yeah, and I think that is definitely where I am starting to go, where it's like, you're enabling people on the right to talk about things that are and say things that cause a lot of damage to society, and like people dying and suffering because of ideas on the right. And it's like, if you really, his privilege shows so much there, because it's like, if he really understood what it was to not be straight and be trans or a person of color or a woman,
Yeah.
then he wouldn't stand for any of that shit. He would not at all.
Yeah.
And that's where his privilege shows up. But I appreciate that he tries to like have more people on, like him having Pac-Man on, David Pac-Man, and Duncan on. But I think Pac-Man needs to like really
Challenge
go
him more.
more. Yeah. And man, if Joe Rogan had Hassan on,
Oh yeah. Well, and like Joe gets the whole how dumb the bootstraps thing is, because he calls people
Yeah.
out who say that. So he kind of gets part of it. Like he's so close, but yet
Yeah,
so
I
far from
know.
actually. And just like he'll like,
I know.
especially with the Ben Shapiro thing and stuff, is like he'll get so close to like destroying Ben's argument. Like when it comes like, oh, just go to a different school if your school's bad, and then it's like Joe doesn't ask. Is like, well, what happens at old school that people can't leave? Like it's just the small stuff that it's like you're so close, Joe.
Yeah.
But then he just drops the ball.
It's like the working class, man. You know what it's like to
Yeah,
be.
like he always talks about it.
Yeah, it's like you're right there. But then you realize he's in a giant mansion, and he has this Spotify deal, which is what we started with. But yeah, no, I think it is one of those things where you do wonder like, what does it take to get that kind of thing? And I've been watching like some YouTubers, and I guess because like Hassan too, like some of the clips where he goes through like I guess from there I went to Dr. K and him talking to people and like streamers, and it is pretty interesting like the stress that does come from like it does become a job at some point where you're like trying to get more people, more subscribers, entertain people.
But it's the only job where like that is an actual thing, right? Like like you're like it's weird because it's like you're trying to be famous and grow like an audience with a lot less, in many ways, a lot less than what like say a musician has to offer to like grow an audience. And it's also different too because like you're constantly in touch with your audience. Like there's no second where your audience either on Discord or like outside our social media or whatever isn't telling you what they think about you, and like just in the most unfiltered way that they can think of. Whereas like even musicians, it's like I guess easier for them to disconnect from that because it's like, oh, I'm just making my music. I don't care what input what the fans think, right? Like that's, you just make the song. Like Logic, I don't know, like Logic said that in a recent album where it was like, oh, it wasn't popular at first, but he was just like, I made the album that I wanted to make, type of thing. Whereas like streamers, you kind of have to listen to your audience more, I think.
Well, I think that's where people are successful, right? Is like it's sort of like what we see now with being populist, right? As like a politician, where it's like, it'll work for a little bit, but AOC is still really popular. Bernie is still really popular. These are people who have a belief.
They're populists.
Yeah. Well, like, but I think there's somebody like AOC and Bernie that are like, they have a core belief about them that
true.
And somebody like Trump is like somebody that just wants to do whatever. Firstly, he serves himself, and then secondly, wants to be popular because that serves him. So then like he'll say anything and do anything to gain that popularity. And that's the sort of like, I guess I hopped around a bit there, but like, yeah, like I guess the same thing with like content where, a musician who really just sticks to their guns, and it's like, there is nowhere else you're going to get this experience or this content other than from me, because I'm original and this is what I want to do. and it may take some time to get there, but I think people when they go to somebody or an artist or a content creator and being like, oh, I know what they're gonna make, you know, like I go there and I expect something. It's sort of like a restaurant where it's like, you know, this restaurant that just makes like pad thai, like really really good pad thai, and they never change their recipe because it's like it's good every time.
Yeah.
And then it becomes more popular, and they're known for that one thing, and the expectation is set and it's met every time. And I think that's hard when you're doing like streaming or like YouTubing, like even some of the stuff that we're doing. I'm like, I always wonder like, what are we doing? I guess we're just like winging it and seeing where it goes, but yeah.
I think that's like a lot of creators. The part is like how receptive they are to their audience.
Yeah.
It's like you look at, say, Hassan. Like Hassan's not gonna play. Like he might like, I don't know, Age of Empires 2 or like Red Alert or whatever. But like if his audience isn't gonna enjoy it, then he'll just play something they do enjoy. Because it's like, you know, you have to. You're I guess as far as like monetizing goes, it's a lot different because with like music, you're monetizing. It's weird, like music and like streaming content is like, it seems like it's similar, but it's also pretty different. Like there's a lot of music streamers that stream.
Yeah.
But they'll just play like, they'll play what they know. They're not gonna play a song that like they don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So, whereas like gaming streamers, it's kind of like, I don't know. I know some gaming streamers that just play the same game and nothing else for years, even if the audience kind of gets tired of it. So they end up with like a whole new audience after like a few months, because it's like people just get tired of the same thing.
Yeah, I guess Twitch is this different medium, because it's like,
you know, you should listen to Devin Nash. Like he does like industry, like streaming industry.
okay, Devin
streams
Nash.
stuff. Yeah.
Devin Nash.
And he's some director for some streamer organization that like represents streamers. So he's a streamer himself, and he before he did that, he was also like, I don't even remember what his position was, but
Cool. Cute.
definitely worth it.
But yeah, don't worry guys. We'll all get uploaded and live in the Matrix. So we won't have to worry about
Rogan.
we don't have to worry about this. I was wondering if you guys want to watch this Kurzgesagt video, because it talks about Cyberpunk 2 as well.
The desire to be
Oh shit, sorry.
of the human experience is as old as our first stories. We exist in an endless universe, only bound by the laws of physics, and yet our consciousness is trapped in mortal machines made of meat. With the breathtaking explosion of innovation and progress, for the first time, the concept of leaving our flesh piles behind and uploading our minds into a digital utopia seems possible, even like the logical next step on our evolutionary ladder. Mind uploading and digital immortality are some of the core themes of the game Cyberpunk 2077. It plays in a grim dystopian future where humanity has progressed far beyond today's technology and explores what this could mean for humanity. About a year ago, CD Projekt Red asked us if we would like to make a video about some of these ideas, and we were immediately on board. So, let's explore this topic together. Is it possible to upload your mind into a computer? Well, it's complicated.
This is why I want to get a VR headset, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Upload what exactly? Mind is one of those words that are really hard to define. It's thought to be the collective abilities of your consciousness and intelligence, the thing that lets you imagine, recognize, and dream. Mind uploading is the hypothetical concept of making a copy of this inner world and transferring it into a computer to run a simulation of your consciousness. But even defining the premise gets really hard, really fast. The possibility of mind uploading is based on 3 assumptions. Assumption 1: your mind is in your brain's structure, arrangement, and biochemistry. The idea that everything about the mind can be found in the brain is called physicalism, and it keeps our discussion within the domain of natural law. Assumption 2: at some point, we will understand the brain well enough and possess the technology to simulate all of its aspects to make a digital mind copy. Assumption 3: computer software can host your mind, which means the mind is computable. There is no physical property in the brain, including consciousness, that cannot be simulated accurately, even if it requires a lot of code. All of these assumptions have been proposed and challenged by scientists and philosophers, and they remain the subject of passionate debate. With so many fundamental questions still unanswered, it's hard to discuss the topic without annoying someone. Whatever your position, every discussion of mind upload has to begin with the brain. The brain in a nutshell. The brain is the most complex biological structure known and deserves its own entire video, so let's just take a brief look at it. Around 100 billion neurons are communicating via 1 million billion connections that are sending signals up to 1,000 times each second, which is 1 quadrillion events every second.
I wonder if your brain will run Cyberpunk 2077
Probably not.
at a good FPS.
Yeah.
Of your waking life. And it's not just neurons, there are billions of supporting and immune cells of various types performing different jobs. On a macro level, the brain can be divided into sections with different roles, from breathing and heart rate to coordinating movement and involuntary reflexes. The most developed parts, the neocortex, or the outermost layer of the brain, hold memories, our ability to plan, think and imagine, hope and dream. Where exactly the you part of the brain is situated is not entirely clear. We know that areas like the precuneus cortex have the greatest influence on our consciousness, but also that several areas can network together to share tasks none of them can do alone. The brain's building blocks are not exactly simple either. Neurons are not just wires, they alter and process information. Synapses, where signals are handed over from one neuron to the next, contain receptors for hundreds of chemical signals, opening them up to outside influence. We have a basic understanding of how these work, and we can accurately predict their behavior at small scales, but there's a lot more to the brain than just nerve signals.
What the fuck?
Hormones play a huge role, like serotonin, which affects our mood, or histamine, which helps us learn. The brain is influenced by our other parts too, from heart nerves to gut bacteria. What seemed like a very complicated system to begin with gets even more complicated the more we learn about it. To get this wildly interconnected mess of cells and meat and chemicals into a computer, we need a model that we can simulate in our digital world. Some sort of scan. Unfortunately, our scanning technology, like fMRI machines, is not nearly good enough to attempt such a thing. But there is a different method that seems very promising. Cutting a brain into tiny slices and scanning them with a high-resolution electron microscope to create an accurate map of all the cells and connections. In 2019, scientists successfully mapped a cubic millimeter of mouse brain,
Oh my
the size
god.
of a big grain of sand. It contained 100,000 neurons with 1 billion synapses and 4 kilometers of nerve fibers. This
Jeez.
grain of brain
Oh my
was cut
God.
into 25,000 slices.
Oh my god.
5 electron microscopes ran continuously for 5 months, collecting more than 100 million images.
What the
It
fuck?
took 3 months to assemble the images into a 3D model. The completed dataset fills up 2 million gigabytes of cloud storage.
I don't think this is
To
gonna
scan a
happen in
whole
our
human
lifetime.
brain, it would have to repeat this effort 1 million times,
I was like,
which is
this,
much easier said than
this
done.
is a really great illustration
Worse,
of how
to
complicated
correctly
life
simulate
is.
a brain, we
Yeah.
might even have to map out much smaller building blocks to include the billions of underlying proteins or even individual molecules that cause all the behaviors we see at the cellular level. which might produce more data than the capacity of all
Well,
data storage on
What
Earth.
what would that be then? Is this like inception of the inception in terms of the simulation theory?
So let me point something out though. When they're talking about like storage
Yeah.
in our parents' lifetime, I like let's do it this way. You have a hard drive right now that holds more than probably every computer that existed when the moon landing happened.
Yeah, like it's crazy
So
the
like
compute
think-
it
power.
sounds like a
Mm.
lot, but like when you think of how fast we've progressed from like floppy disk drives that could hold like what was it like 128 megabyte like it's something
It was like,
ridiculous
yeah, it
to
was
now like
100 megabytes.
yeah like my phone is like
Actually,
like
no,
it like
it wasn't 100 megabytes. I think it was like a megabyte.
it's less. It was yeah, it was even less. But yeah, so like it's I don't think that's out of the question having like storage for that all that data.
Especially when the
It's just
cloud
like
comes on.
yeah, it's just like I don't know, transform it like turning it from like hardware to software, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
interfacing the brain with some sort of thing to record it.
1.44 megabytes on a 3.5-inch floppy disk.
Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think
now
our
we're at like
smartphone computing power is like what the Apollo program had.
Yeah.
Like our
I mean,
smartphone, like not even like the most sophisticated smartphone, just any of them. Probably just like first gen iPhone.
yeah. There's like 1 terabyte like micro SD cards, you know? Like it's $400, but I mean, probably would have been like $400 million back then. But yeah, this is quite insane.
Brain water to consciousness wine. While all of these issues are annoying, the real question is how we turn
Yeah,
the
do you
static
think it's like
blueprint
an
of the brain
inception of the
into an
simulation theory?
effective thing.
Like if we're
Even
right
if we
now,
have
if
a
we're in the
scan-
simulation, and then we're gonna upload it within the simulation.
Ah. Yeah, it's like
It's like,
people who
oh,
make computer games inside computer games,
yeah,
right? Like have you seen those
layers on layers.
yeah, like those in like Minecraft and like I
yeah.
think in Alex, no, not Alex, no yeah, and like in all those sandbox games.
Yeah, like Final Fantasy, the casinos where they have like all the little mini games and stuff that are just old Final Fantasy. Like, yeah, they have all that.
Yeah, it's I mean, if you can hold if your computer technological capability could make a simulation of reality, then it could probably easily hold a shittier version of that simulation within the simulation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I feel like we need some DMT talk now.
Down to the level of synapses, we need laws and rules that animate the wiring
Have you guys
diagram
ever
to
thought that
endow
we're maybe
this
being prepped for this stuff kind of thing?
What do you mean prepped?
Like had
What
that
do you
like okay, if you
Are you a
assume that
prepper?
like
Yeah.
that alien life is real, right? Or whatever, like
Uh-huh.
the law of averages is like, you know,
What do you
there's
mean?
bound to
They
be
are real.
yeah, so like if they're that advanced, what do you think are the chances that it could be like prepping us to like even technology, like you know the whole theory of like, oh, they started developing the cell phone after the Roswell crashes and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
how a lot of that technology started picking up after all those things in the 60s with aliens and stuff. I mean, and the Cold War, but
Mhm.
there's theories like that where like, you know, like that's the whole what's his name? Bob Lazar
Oh yeah, yeah,
thing
yeah.
is that like they're ancient crashes,
Mhm.
which I guess makes more. I never realized that actually makes more sense than like the idea that they crash landed in the last 50 years. Is that they would have crash landed in the last 300,000 years,
Yeah, sure.
and like you know that time frame makes more sense than oh it happened while we were alive and like we
just yesterday.
reverse engineered it, then it's like it would make more sense to me if like if they like uncovered it under like, you know, half a kilometer of sand in the desert somewhere, and then reverse engineered stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was just like, you know how like if your car breaks down nowadays, maybe
Yeah.
like those ones are like, oh, they just broke down on the universe highway,
Yeah,
and then they just left it here, and then like
Yeah.
the alien CAA came and took them.
yeah.
Aliens.
They called an alien Uber.
Yeah, and then they're just like, oh man, this place sucks anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
it's
like, what if there's like a path we're on already, and it's like, you know, to make us more accepting of like things like this is like, oh, we're gonna make these video
Oh, I
games
see what
that
you
have all
mean.
these concepts in it.
I see
like
what you mean.
Westworld and stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
Like prime us, right?
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool. I mean,
Because if you look at us how we were like 1,000 years ago, we would just call you a witch and burn you at the stake for suggesting like
it's true,
90% of what happens in real life right now, right? It's
Yeah.
just magic or whatever. But it's
well,
like,
nowadays they just call you a liberal, right?
well,
Lib-
but yeah, like, well,
yeah.
but not just that, like there's a lot of concepts that only get brought up through entertainment that like people don't really discuss in their normal lives, right? Like, even the idea of like the Matrix is like no one was really talking about anything that even is maybe mentioned in books, but like the concept of anything like that was just non-existent. But now the Matrix is like a word, like it's its own. It's probably in the dictionary, like as
Yeah.
like as
It's a
with
cultural.
the context from the movie, like
Yeah.
so it's like if you were an alien and you wanted this species to survive or advance or progress, if it was me, like okay, if it was like if you were like a researcher like watching like a troop of apes or something, right?
Mhm.
And like you could do anything you wanted, forget the prime directive, do anything you want. Like, don't you think that it'd be interesting and maybe benefit them to give them or teach them how to use certain tools for their own preservation? Right? Like, let's say the
Yeah.
climate starts getting colder, like, you know, like they would go extinct if there was an ice age unless they learned how to make fire. So
Mhm.
if it was me, I would want to teach these apes how to make fire.
Like
so
guide
they would
them.
survive.
Yeah.
Guide them. Not save them, not like tell
Sure.
them what's happening or whatever, but guide
Mhm.
them in a positive direction. Like, do you think that
Yeah.
could be happening on any level with us?
Yeah. I mean.
If, of course, aliens are real.
Yeah. I mean. Well. Number one. Yeah. I mean, aliens is. There's a very high chance.
Oh,
Just mathematically that
an
there
alien.
could be intelligent life, right?
Yeah, and aliens could be us, like humans in a different dimension. I just mean, like,
Sure.
you know, not.
Yeah. A different dimension, a different galaxy, a different
Yeah.
anything, right? And then the idea of guiding a society, yeah, sure. I mean, there's I think it's weird because the way that I think about it is very much just from Star Trek, where it's like the Federation doesn't want to do that. But I mean, I
Yeah.
could totally see a society that goes, well, I think that the universe needs diversity and that there isn't enough intelligent life, so let's make it a prime directive to guide societies
exactly.
to a better
Or less destructive
society.
Like, you know.
Yeah. But the thing is, right, like, it's weird from our perspective because you can see, I think it really just depends on how you look at stuff, right? Because if you see a lot of, like, if you're a nihilist, right, it's like, oh yeah, this is all fucked anyway. So what's the point of like trying to rescue a species, or like make a species good and stuff? So I could see it from that perspective, but I mean, I could totally also, personally, I would like it if there was a kind like alien species that was trying to guide other species to do good, and like to, maybe I'm thinking about it too idealistically, but yeah. And then from that ability, I could see them planting, maybe they don't have to be good or anything, but they do have the idea of guiding a society, and like planting random technology that makes them more comfortable with how certain things really turn out outside of
Yeah.
Earth.
Or influencing people like to invent, like as an example, and it's like I don't really believe it, but the whole Nikola Tesla thing where he thought like aliens were in contact. I mean, but like he made some incredible contributions to society, and it's like, who's to
Yeah.
say, they don't have,
Yeah.
they can't like just implant ideas like that, the way it happens in some science fiction and stuff, but like, yeah.
Yeah,
Can
it
they
is.
work faster. Can they work faster, please?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tell them to get a move on, man.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, if you, I always thought about this, where it's like, you have North America, which had indigenous populations and civilizations that were just doing their thing at a very, very nice pace, and then you get, you pop over and take a look at medieval Europe, and you're just like, oh my God, these people are just killing each other, and like they're just going at it, but they got armor, they got through some diseases, they, had, well, one of the benefits of a large variation of domesticated species, animals that can help them, and then like, the technology, a lot of things that made them advance technologically, out of sheer luck of the roll of the dice in the beginning of the game. But it's like a wonder, right? Where it's like, I would, thinking about it right now, I would like if we went the indigenous civilization way and just went at a nice steady pace and didn't have an explosion of population, and just tried to keep in tune with nature and the resources that we have, instead of like the enormous industrialization and like fast-paced innovation that basically costs us a lot in the long run. It's like a balance, right? It's like, which way is the right way to go? And I of course lean the more natural, like slower pace, like methodical way, in tune. But I don't know, man. Like,
For that,
what?
I am actually a centrist. That's my.
Yeah, it's that's the thing I think about with technology, and like Kendra's saying, like hurry up. And I think the thing though is with that hurry up thing is like, I think if you were an alien species and you knew you wanted to get a civilization running quickly, and you didn't care about the cost, or you thought that the cost was worth the reward, where it's like, I hope that all of this crap is worth it, because a lot of people are like suffering and dying, right? And it's like America is like, COVID is like, it's a 9/11 like casualty amount every freaking day now. Like, how do you, as a government, how do you look at that and go, oh no, we're not going to pass a stimulus bill? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's stuff like that where it's like, man, oh man, like
think of how many trillions of dollars they spent on those wars because of 9/11, and they won't even spend like half of that or fraction of that on their own working people.
Yeah. But yeah, like the point I'm trying to get to is like, if there's something at the end of all of this crap that's worth it, it better man, it better be good, because like, I can understand though, if you were trying to guide society to like evolve quickly, because these catastrophes should make civilization react quickly and innovate quickly,
Yeah.
right? Because, if we don't, it's like we think this is bad.
Yeah.
Like the pandemic is bad. I was just thinking, I was asking my partner, I was like, what I don't know, I'll put this to you guys, like what do you think is the most major thing that would make governments react, would make all of society react to climate change and go, oh shit, we got to do something immediately, like develop a vaccine in 8 months, like what would be the equivalent for climate change,
Uh, I don't know. It's hard because like people are so complex that like it's like, oh yeah, a meteor's hitting Earth, so like people are like that's not my answer because that's an
Yeah,
example because like, oh, some people be like, oh, we got to figure out how to like get a nuke on it or like
yeah.
reroute it.
Send
But then
send
there's
oil
people,
miners.
yeah, yeah, Bruce Willis,
Yeah.
play the song. No, um, but then you'll have people that are gonna be like, oh, what's the point? I'm just gonna do whatever I want. I'm just gonna go rob a bank. I'm just gonna go do
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
because it's the end. So I don't know. Like even the idea of like guiding civilization, like they could be guiding us to something or just guiding us away from something.
Sure.
Like it could
Yeah.
just be like, well, let's just make sure these apes don't nuke each other. And
Mm.
then that's about it. Like it could be
Mhm.
that, or maybe, maybe here's examples. Like maybe that's how we learned to manipulate the atom to begin with. Maybe there's some involvement in like, oh, let's teach them how to actually manipulate it. Like the whole idea of like mutually assured destruction, preventing wars between a lot of the superpowers because like it would just end out in a nuclear winter is like that's if only one country had the knowledge of that, then things probably wouldn't look so good right now.
Yeah.
If only one country possessed that. So as for like like I don't even like even an alien invasion, it wouldn't be enough. Like I don't even think there's anything at this point that could actually um like even global warming, like you like Florida could be like Miami could be underwater, and I don't think anything would actually like unite people to fix like at that point it'll be more like, oh well, it's too late, we can't do anything about it, right? And that's
Yeah.
the whole problem to me with the hindsight thing is like people like to say like, oh, that's hindsight, like we couldn't do anything about it. Well, you couldn't do anything about it if only if nobody was raising concerns before it actually happened.
Yeah.
If people were raising those concerns before it happened, then you had foresight, you just chose not to act on it. And
Yeah.
I think like people should be held to that account. Like that's how politicians get away with so much is like, oh, we didn't know this was gonna happen, so we didn't act on it. When it's like, oh, well, you mean like all those experts telling you this was gonna happen? Like, you just thought you could use that as an excuse after the fact, and then they get away with it because people
Yeah.
are like, oh, right, you're right. I didn't know that. I couldn't act in hindsight, so they're allowed to be off the hook, even though like, they have a panel of experts telling them exactly what's, how it's gonna play out and stuff. Like Kendra, you watched there was a Joe Rogan interview with the guy who works for, it's called CIDRAP. It's the center it's got to do with like disease and policy and stuff in the States. And like he was warning about what would happen. This is at the very start of the pandemic. Like there was no lockdowns. I don't even remember if the World Health Organization had called it a pandemic yet.
Yeah, it was already called when he was on.
Yeah, but
He
he was
was on
talking about how like disruptions of the
CDC.
supply chain and stuff. CIDRAP,
Oh.
he's on Biden's team now.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
cool.
nice.
I
Nice.
think he got put on Biden's team.
CIDRAP is the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy.
Okay.
So like they're actually, in my opinion, almost like more qualified than the CDC because they work more with policy and
Mm.
specifically with infectious disease. Like CDC is also
Yeah,
other
he's on
stuff.
the COVID-19 advisory board for Biden.
Yeah, but like this guy was warning about stuff that like when I brought up the disruptions of the supply chain to other people, they were like, "Oh, well, that's fake because like the the government, like the officials that are on TV and stuff, aren't talking about that, so it's not
Mhm.
real." And then guess what? It happened, right? And this guy wrote a book about this before the pandemic
Oh
happened.
wow.
Like he's written books about, where in the world these viruses are going to come from, what they're going to affect most, like all these. So like the idea, like, oh, we couldn't act accordingly because we didn't know, I think is a huge cop out for people who don't want to take personal responsibility.
Yeah, for sure.
uh,
But
so
that I don't know. But that's the thing, right? Is like it it's here now. Like
yeah.
the cost is real.
Oh yeah,
But
that's what I mean.
to your point, right? Like, there's nothing, not nothing, but there's not a lot that any other country can do but just watch the US just destroy
Yeah.
itself, right? Like the government is just not doing enough. At least right now, until January 20th, that is. But yeah, I don't know. Like, is there something for climate? Because I was thinking, like, what if, like, I don't know, like a
I think you have to like,
tsunami,
yeah, I think it
like a
has to take
tsunami
out
wiped out Japan. You know?
has to take
Well,
out a couple world leaders. I think.
so
Yeah.
I don't even think that, because I'm already doing the mental gymnastics that those people would try to do to
Oh, to like
not
get
want to do
around it.
anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, it would have to be. I know you're not gonna like this answer. Is like, if we want to colonize another planet,
Uh huh.
we need to show that we can. It's like, okay, the people who think that we can't do anything about global warming, it's because they don't think we have the capability. But if we
Yeah.
can be like, look, we are in the process of turning Mars into,
Yeah.
uh,
Terraforming it.
yeah, we're terraforming it. That would make it impossible for any of those people to say we can't do that on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And like even with like the nukes and stuff, is like we had to do like all the steps leading up to it before we could have nuclear power, let's say.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
we didn't just jump straight into like, oh well, we now have efficient sort of low cost power for everyone. Is like, oh, we're gonna do all these steps that have nothing to do with that first, and then we're gonna try to help people with what we learned.
Yeah.
It'll take a lot of things to match up before the entire world teams up. I think. Just in terms of like how the financial markets are set up and stuff, it's set up that
Mm.
it doesn't allow that type of cohesiveness. I think because it's all about like competition, right? Like I'm number one, you have to follow
Mm.
my rules type thing. So until we fix that, because it's like if you look at like developing countries and stuff, it's like they have to use like for them to invest into renewables and stuff, they have to basically bypass the whole coal and gas thing, but then they have to like borrow
Yeah.
even more money to go into green energy. So it's like they're gonna fight back against that because it's like all the developed countries are able to gouge us
Mm-hmm.
before they even have to do it type thing, right? So there's gonna be a lot of competition for that. So I think it would have to be multiple things that need to happen. So either like a lot more oil and gas companies going bankrupt or whatever. Like a lot of things that change like the lobbying nature of things
Mm-hmm.
that will set into that cohesive because it's not just one country that needs to do it, right? It's everyone. There's like no way to really beat this situation until like every country's like, okay, we're all gonna go green. We're all gonna cut down on the use of gas and oil and non-renewables, right? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
even if like for example like Canada, I think they just announced increasing the carbon tax. It's like we can only do so much, right? Like if we cut down carbon, but then like another country just does like twice as much and just like takes our whatever we saved, right? And it's
Mm.
like it's still zero, right? So
And that's why people are so fearful of like one world government, where it's like they project their distrust in their own government onto like this, hypothetical government that doesn't even exist yet.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, let's do it this way: if a world government was as dysfunctional as even the U.S. government, it would still be better than what we currently have, because then we would have like a unified approach to like it would be like a more unified policy decisions that get made
Yeah.
one way or another. Um, but then I don't know. I without me going on a rant about like the EU and how like that like
That whole thing.
Americans critical of the EU really only serves Russia.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
Russia would benefit more than anyone from a weaker EU,
Yeah.
and a strong EU is like the nightmare of Putin and like and any country that wants to exploit Europe, really.
Exactly.
So, um, it really doesn't make sense to me why so many Americans are anti-EU
Well, you know why.
when. Well, I mean, I have my own theory why is that they're called the United States, and now that we see how ununited they are, they don't like the idea of a union of countries being even more united than this 250-year-old country.
Yeah. I mean, the capitalist
That's,
hardcore of the US doesn't like.
yeah.
I mean, they don't like the regulation of the EU and them being
Yeah.
able to actually.
Bargaining power.
Exactly,
Of like, yeah.
Yeah. I think it just goes back down to
So-
capitalism trying to fight its way into the 21st
see,
century.
But even the idea of a union to me is pretty capitalist, because it's like they would benefit
Yeah.
from, like, to me it's like,
I could
to
see
me I separate US capitalism from all other countries that are capitalist,
that.
because it's so,
Unregulated.
to me, not even capitalist. That's an oligarchy. What the US has isn't even a capitalist system. Like a lot of those like even the idea of like of universal healthcare to me is more capitalist than what the US practices, in my opinion, because they don't have, in a free market you're supposed to have certain things like economy of scale. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're supplying medicine to 40 million people, they're in a free market, you should be able to take advantage of purchasing that much of any product.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the US is it removes that from the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
The consumer has zero like agency over how capitalist the system is, because it's run by the oligarchs, not by a free market, because it's not actually a free market.
Right.
Like for it to be like a truly capitalist or like a free market, they have to be less oligarch. They have to be less of an oligarch, but they aren't, so it can't be.
Yeah, I think it's just more, less and less regulation, more and more of like honestly just feudalism.
Yeah.
But yeah. Want
And
to finish the
people are
rest?
okay with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to finish the rest of this?
Yeah. We're so far off topic.
No, it's fine. It's cool.
Kind of. Yeah.
Static structure with life, update it with the various laws of chemical binding, of electrodynamics, to animate the simulation. So it becomes a dynamic active thing like a brain, that exists from one microsecond to the next that can evolve in time, think, see, and act. The reality is that we just don't know if this is possible to achieve. If our technology can give rise to real minds. It all hinges on the nature of the problem. Are the brain and mind just complicated and a lot of work to figure out? Or are they complex in a way that we can't solve? In the worst case, consciousness is more than the sum of the parts of the brain in a way that we don't realize yet. Complex in a way that we can't solve by getting better scans. Just having a list of the ingredients might not be enough to get a good consciousness cake. Right
This
now,
reminds
we
me
have
of
a
like
great starting
alchemy.
point with tangible scientific results and an end goal, but the road to true
Well, it's
simulation
kind of
is
the
unclear and requires
wasn't alchemy
a
like
lot
trying to
of
make gold out of like
Yeah. It's like you
this step, the
know.
next step.
Yeah, like we know what gold is made of, but we just
Yeah.
it's like really hard to just do it.
Yeah.
innovation and research. Humans have historically been horrible at predicting the pace of progress.
And you've seen
In the best
Westworld.
case,
You
it's
know
just
what
a matter
the
of
next
doing
step
work
is,
and
even if we
finding the
can
right
put
solutions.
consciousness in, or what we
It
think
might
is
not be
consciousness
necessary
into
to
something.
simulate
Yeah. Actually,
Like-
speak.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there a new Westworld coming out? That show is really good. Or like the premise of it.
Yeah, I worked on
Yeah, the
Westworld.
premise is so good.
Oh, you worked on Westworld?
Yeah.
I
Is
did.
that a secret?
No.
No, it was last season, right?
Yeah. If it's out, then I can say I worked on it.
As a concept, Westworld is like my favorite concept for like a show ever.
Like
Yeah.
plotting, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like it's basically like a RPG
Yeah.
in like a TV show format, right?
But even like
Mhm.
the science aspect of it, like the philosophical, like what it means to be human,
Yeah.
are these machines as human? Like that whole thing, I think is a intriguing topic that we're gonna have to be talking about more and more as
Mhm.
AI
Or that,
progresses.
yeah, the AI conversation about like it being
Rights and stuff.
deterministic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, this
oh, the AI said you're gonna be a plumber for life.
Well, like this is all born from like their whole struggle in Westworld as robots is born from not being given the same rights as humans, right? Like
yeah.
It's like
so.
Zenyatta, right?
Yeah,
Oops.
exactly. Like actually, yeah.
Yeah, this was the
Sunnyman.
this was the thing I made. It was in the trailer. It's not exactly what this looks like, but this is basically what it looks like in the show. And then I did I think it was for the trailer, and then I think somebody did all the final stuff when it went into the show. And then no, I was just thinking of Westworld 2 because technically the humans are guiding not the humans, but I don't want to spoil too much of the show for people who haven't watched it, but in the show there's an idea of guiding robots to be more conscious. So that's the other thing where it's like you wonder in the show where it's like, are the robots actually like becoming conscious, or is it because someone is guiding them and like programming them to be conscious? Right. So
Well, then is that how we are also conscious?
Yeah, exactly, right? That's the question. It's like, what
Is
is
there like some controller that somewhere in the universe that is us without us being conscious that it's us,
right?
kind of thing.
Twilight.
Interesting. Yeah.
every
We
last
should write an
cell down
episode
to
of
the
Black Mirror.
Oh, I think I could.
It'd be fun. We can even read the screenplay on the episode.
That'd be cool. That would be cool. Mine would definitely be more optimistic. So definitely, I don't think, because I think people complained last Black Mirror that the last season was like way too not as dark, and people didn't like it.
Yeah. Mine would be optimistic, but only after the war with the apes and the apes win, and it would be like, oh, we can be optimistic. The apes are gonna be better than humans.
Oh man.
They'll just unite against humans to the point where like they forget the differences between the great apes, because like the human threat is so big. that they're like, I don't care that you're an orangutan or that you're a capuchin monkey, like whatever. We're taking out the
Hail
humans
Caesar.
and world peace.
Hail
Yeah.
Caesar.
Hail
And Caesar in this one is a capuchin monkey, not a chimp. So, the chihuahua of monkeys.
Some
Yeah.
inside baseball monkey species.
Yeah. Alright.
Instead, it may be possible to simplify elements into probabilistic models that could match the behavior of the brain using a more manageable number of simpler systems. So we really don't know if we will ever understand our brain and consciousness well enough to upload human minds. But the science is real and worth pursuing. At the very least, we will just learn a lot about ourselves and develop a bunch of new technologies. If we succeed, this might put
Beat
mind
sleep,
uploading
man.
well within the capabilities of our rapidly progressing computer technology. The consequences for humanity and our future in this universe are vast, creepy, and amazing. The copy. Successful mind uploading is functional immortality. Unless damaged or deleted, you will continue to exist as long as a copy is stored somewhere. Of course, if the scan is corrupted in any of a myriad of ways, your mind might get corrupted too.
Uh-oh.
You might be in an eternity of pain or
That's like,
paranoia,
Oh,
or having an
awesome.
endless
It's like Cortana.
Yeah.
Halo 4, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, even in, like, them doing the autopilot in the cars, like, Toyota had a problem with, like, unexpected acceleration in their Priuses, I think. And it's because they didn't create a redundancy. So, because literally there were gamma rays or some sort of radiation from space coming down and hitting the computer and just messing it up to the point where it just would not stop accelerating. And that's why planes are so expensive, because they have built-in redundancies. There's like 2 or 3 of the same system that, let's say, runs the engine or regulates the temperature in an airplane, because it has to, because it goes so close outside of it gets exposed that much more to radiation and outside space random rays that, like, it could mess up the computer system. So you have to build these redundancies into it so that it doesn't completely destroy or malfunction the whole thing. And if there was a digital copy of you, oh man, oh, that's so terrifying. But yeah. Oh boy.
I was just saying it before. Is like, and he keeps mentioning in this is like a lot of issues with people. I'll say the right way, and it's not just them. With like science deniers, is like
Sure, yeah.
people forget that science isn't static. Like,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
always like to think of science just in the present day, not like I was talking about this to someone like years ago about consciousness. Is like, oh, we don't understand, like, we'll never, like, the idea that we'll never understand certain aspects of humanity, because and this person I was talking to refused to like even admit that, like, maybe humans will one day develop technology that can do it. It was just like, no, we'll never, no matter what we do, we'll never be able to do that, when it's like for a lot of other stuff that isn't true. Like, where
Yeah.
you could have gone back 50 years or even 20 years and gone like, oh, we didn't know that, and then now we can, like, manipulate genes and embryos and stuff. Whereas, like, no, we can develop tools that'll help us understand stuff more. Like, it's not, I don't know, I get really triggered when people like to imply that science is like always at its peak.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
never going to progress in understanding anything about nature more than it does currently.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that. Because I don't think that makes any sense at all.
Well, it's not, they don't say it specifically, but it's like, oh, we can't do this, therefore X. Where it's like, yeah, but we can only do this based on limitations of this.
Of
Those
literally
limitations
right
are constantly
now.
being changed. So that premise that, oh, we can't do this is false, or it's at least only temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that's my issue with a lot. Like with with some of the climate change believers, like people on the right who think climate change is real, but just that we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, for sure. But
And which is actually a lot of them.
Yeah, that's why I think, like, I don't know, it proves out in the end where it's like, you know, if you stick around long enough, you'll be proven wrong by science. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, all this stuff that we're watching now about like uploading minds and stuff, this could be trivial by the time we get a quantum computer being like, oh yeah, this is like quantum computer, and then like you program an AI to run on a quantum computer, and then it's like basically like talking to a person who's like a gajillion times smarter than you, being like, oh yeah, can you figure out how to upload a mind? And be like, yeah, sure, give me like a couple months. yeah. Oh man.
Psychotic breakdown. The question if this digital mind is you opens another whole can of worms. For now, we'll just assume that your digital mind at least feels like it's you. How would mind uploading change your outlook on life? Will you feel safer knowing that death is not necessarily the end? Or would you try to be super safe to avoid dying before your mind is uploaded? If scanning technology does become advanced enough, your biological and digital versions could coexist. You could help each other out by making your biological lifespan more enjoyable and the future of the copy more secure. Whatever happens, your mind copy will begin a completely new life once it opens their digital eyes for the first time. Having a functional body is actually quite nice, and you're pretty used to it. Food, love, pain and exhaustion, all of these things are parts of us that we must live with. But in the end, they are the result of neurons firing in your brain. So while you could decide to live in a simulated body, it might be optional for a digital mind. Falling in love might lose meaning if you can have it at the press of a button. Instead, you might end up searching for new extraordinary experiences. Walk on the surface of the sun. Speed up time to skip past a few boring months. Experience a simulation of the past. Your perspectives and priorities will change as you continue to exist in this liberated form. The longer digital minds exist, eventually they will likely gain greater knowledge of themselves and an ability to change their own contents. This can be as simple as deleting a memory that bugs you. You might change aspects of your personality, like grudges, addictions, or laziness. Without the constraints of biology, your abilities might move up as technology progresses, while your priorities or goals might become more and more foreign to your original brain if it's still alive.
Ooh.
Waking up to the true potential of digital immortality will be gradual. You can start projects that would take more than a lifetime to complete. Scientists could accumulate an incredible amount of knowledge, leading to discoveries that could revolutionize the world. Adventurers could upload themselves onto small spaceships and embark on journeys to the stars, just putting themselves on pause for thousands of years at a time. Although it's unlikely that every digital mind will work for the benefit of humanity, since our current meat versions don't do that either. Some will seek power and influence and will have a literal eternity of trying to create empires. Others will begin hoarding as many resources for themselves as possible as they compete with other minds trying to do the same.
Like Somali pirates.
The longer they live, the less sympathy they may feel for simple meat beings. Or imagine immortal cult leaders who propagate lies and invent religions, fine-tuning and perfecting their dogma over hundreds of years. Or perhaps none of all that. Maybe our minds are not made for immortality, and digital minds will just become rigid and unproductive and retire after a very long life, having experienced everything they could ever want to. It's hard to predict how much good or bad a self-improving mind could do with hundreds or thousands of years of free time. While mind upload with all its wonders and horrors is beyond our current technological capabilities, you can use some of your free time in the present and experience one interpretation of this future right away by hitting the streets of Night City in Cyberpunk 2077.
I think we'll actually
Cyberpunk
get past
2077 is made by
not get past it, but like it won't be as desired anymore because like this is cool,
Mm-hmm.
but people I think will start to realize that like whatever is experienced by your Matrix version that's a different version of you.
Yeah, this
Like,
has always been my issue with teleportation as well. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it's a recreation. It might be an
Mhm.
identical one for one recreation. At
Mhm.
the end of the day, that's a recreation, right? Like
Yep.
it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think once people like AI is a whole different thing. Like I think we'd have to have AI before we even came close to this. But like, it's just like at least AI doesn't have that issue where it's like, oh, that's a different thing. Like it's a different entity. We know that. We're not trying
Yeah,
to
it's a brand new
create.
creation.
Yeah. Whereas this is like, I would have uses, but it wouldn't be like as like society changing as we think it is now. I think, or as we think it would be.
Yeah. I mean, this is some pretty far off stuff. I didn't realize they were gonna
Oh, yeah.
go like that far into it, where it's just like, oh, your digital self is gonna like be enlightened and like become omnipotent and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty out there. I mean, it possibly could, but I'm like, man, that's
Probably
such
not in
a
our lifetime.
It would.
yeah.
It seems like it would be omnipotent in your own simulation.
Sure,
But that's
yeah.
about it. Cause
Are
like
you sold?
what?
I was gonna say, are you sold on the simulation that this is a simulation?
No. I mean like the simulation that your digital mind creates to like do
Ah,
whatever it does.
yes, true,
Like
true.
whatever you learn, you would only be learning from what you yourself set up
Mhm.
in the simulation.
Mhm.
Like it wouldn't. Whatever you learn would only be so helpful outside of
Mhm.
that digital world.
Yeah. Are you guys? Do you guys think this is a simulation?
Never really thought about it, to be honest. Because if it is, it sucks. If it's not, it still sucks. So
Yeah, but the simulation doesn't have to be like
Uh,
good.
yeah,
like,
yeah,
Like,
yeah, if it was like a simulation, maybe make it better. Whoever's
Yeah.
controlling it.
yeah.
and the graphics are pretty good.
Yeah, the graphics
Yeah, they're
are
really good.
8K, right?
Yeah, so I'm getting a 3070.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I've never like philosophically thought about simulation theory.
Mhm.
I mean, if it is, then so be it. It still sucks.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Kendra's very zen about
Yeah.
life. I like that. Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go into the VR discussion before we end this, because I
Okay.
really want to know.
Yeah, I mean, like, the closest I'm gonna get to uploading my mind and like is pretty much VR. So like I've been doing research into like, I ordered a controller last Monday and it never came. So a joystick, I mean.
Which one did you order?
I ordered.
The Warthog, not the Warthog.
No, you can't find the Warthog. Trust me, I think I would have probably ordered it if it was not like
It's like
being
$1,000 too.
scalped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
Greg,
didn't realize like they sell it separately. Like the throttle and the stick are separate, and they're usually like $300 or $400.
No, but I did find a page where it has both of them, and I think originally they sell for like 600 or 700, which
That's what
to
I-
me
like
is
the whole package,
more.
right?
Yeah,
That's
to
what
me
I
is
thought.
more reasonable, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, they're like scalping them for like 1,500.
Fuck it.
Yeah, so screw that. So I got this one.
Oh, nice.
So I like it because it has the little metal switches,
Yeah.
even
yeah.
though they're not really metal, but close
It's
enough.
got that pinky trigger and like the separate throttle. You can have like you can separate that. I think.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I I can't wait.
So
It's supposed to be here. But I think it got delayed till like Tuesday or something.
Are you gonna do what I did and put holes in your desk so you can like?
Probably, I'm probably not gonna do that. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm gonna do it because I need to clear my desk first.
Because you don't want them to like move around and slide around while you.
Exactly.
Like,
no, for sure. Yeah. So there's that, and then I was like, man, I want to get a VR headset with this so that I can really just escape. And yeah.
That's what I want.
So, so there's the Oculus Quest 2, which apparently also can plug into the PC. So I've been looking
Facebook.
Yeah. Don't you need a Facebook account for this?
Yes. So that's the main thing that's been stopping me. But there's been a challenge recently to antitrust laws with antitrust or something with Facebook, which could possibly include the Oculus Quest 2 and the requirement for a account. So that's like developing right now. So I'm trying to keep track of that. Yeah. I'm trying to keep track of that to see if well, the funny thing is, like, I don't know, watching a lot of reviews and people talking about it, every product you use pretty much is tracking you. So it's not like Facebook is
not if you're not logged in though.
Yeah, not if you use incognito mode.
Wait, this is gonna be like my running joke for however long we do this. So.
It's true. Yeah, so there's
I wish that we had a change in society with that, like governments actually take on these tech companies to make it illegal for them to collect that much data and stuff.
Well, I know, going back to the thing that you were saying before, but the EU is probably doing more about this than any other government. So I think because a large body like the EU is trying to regulate this kind of stuff, it's forcing the companies to do something about it, right? Because if they have a version of these products where they have to take into account privacy and like consumer consumption about products the way that they want to and without being super proprietary, then it may make sense for them to just not to just have that as a universal across the board thing. It might cost them more money to have two versions of the same product, one that takes your information and without you knowing, and then the other one that asks you. So that's hopeful. I mean, that's good. But yeah, so there's the Quest 2 and then the HP Verb 2, G2. So the difference between these two, actually there was a VR comparison website that I was using, which was pretty good. This one. Yeah, so this one is pretty cool because it compares like the resolution per eye and like other specs. So if we just compare the Oculus Quest 2. Yeah, so the Reverb is significantly more expensive. It's basically double the price. But you get 2160 by 2160 per eye, which is pretty cool because that's like
just two LCDs also, right?
Yeah, but they always count the resolution per eye anyway. So that's the thing about that is, like, I think if you have two displays, you're probably you could probably give more field of view. And then I don't know, it depends on the technology, I guess, but yeah, because it seems like the Oculus Quest 2 has like a more narrow field of view, but people have been hacking it. Like on the Reverb 2, I saw a guy just like literally swap out the cushion around the headset, around the eyes, and just made it so that you can bring your eyes closer, and it increases the field of view like crazy. So that'd be like even more immersive.
Hand tracking. That's cool.
Yeah, but Oculus 2 has hand tracking, and which is pretty cool. and it runs on itself, so like by itself. So there's like
Yeah.
the thing with the Oculus 2 is like it is very impressive actually, like technologically, but it's just so freaking annoying how like Facebook has such an interest in controlling it. So
Has
I'll let you
3D
guys
audio
know about
too.
that case. Yeah, and the 3D audio is pretty sick. But yeah, so I don't know. Right now, I think I'm just gonna, when I get the joystick, I'm just gonna try it out, and then just try to enjoy it without the headset because, man, it's so tempting because the Oculus 2 is like one of the only new products that came out recently that you can actually buy right now.
Stock.
Like that's actually in stock. Like the PS5 is out, the new AMD cards are not in stock, the Nvidia is not in stock, the PlayStation 5 is not in stock. Yeah, and then of course, me being me, I'm like I want full resolution. Like I don't want to see any screen door. I want the best resolution. I don't even really care about the hand tracking or the controllers because I'm just doing Space Sim. But
True.
yeah, so a lot of people are recommending the HP Reverb 2 G2 for a Space Sim because the controllers aren't that great. And I don't really care because I'm not gonna like play Alex on it or anything. And I guess I could if it's not gonna be like amazing. But yeah, I really like the G2 because it's just higher resolution, and the refresh rate is 90 hertz, which I wish it was higher. I believe it's even higher on the
The human eye can only see 30 frames. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, the I think one of like the favorites is the Valve Index, and that one is 144 hertz, which some people were complaining that if the refresh rate is like around 60, it's like very jarring because it's not like, because you think it's real life, it's got to be really, really smooth. Otherwise, it really takes you out of it, and some people get nauseous or like it gets very unimmersive.
Like you'd want to lock it too, right?
Yeah. So that's the other issue with the Reverb 2 though, is that because it's such high resolution, you're basically running two 2K monitors at the same time, including your other monitors. So like, and I already have 3 monitors, so oh boy. So some people are complaining like you gotta have a really crazy computer, and I'm like, man.
Some do.
Some do. So that's where I'm at right now, and I'm probably just gonna wait till next year for the VR. But I will get the joysticks and have fun with those. I did the tutorial for Elite Dangerous, which was fun, and I actually used my controller, which is really great. I highly recommend the SN30 or 8-bit, SN30 Plus. It's a really fun controller, and it works really well. Highly recommend. I used it for the Switch for playing Mario Kart. It's a really good controller, and you can plug it into your computer too. And so I used it for some games. But yeah, that's it. That is it. Alrighty.
Nice controller.
Thanks. Hold on, let me just find the link. 8-bit SN30 Pro. Yeah, they have like a classic looking version, which is really cool.
Well,
But like
the
they're
Super Nintendo
total.
one.
Yeah. This one I have 2. I have this one for my PC, and then the black one you can see in the picture, and then there's the classic looking one, which I have for my Switch.
Nostalgia right there.
Oh, dude, it's a really solid controller. I used it to play Alan Wake, which was really fun.
Was that fun?
Yeah, that's a friggin' great game. It's such a good game.
Maybe I'll
If
try
you-
it.
if you're interested in Control, that like it's the same company and they made Alan
Mm.
Wake a while ago, and
That's
yeah,
Remedy,
it's-
isn't it?
yes,
Cyberpunk.
it's a really it's a fun game. Highly recommend.
Roger. Roger.
So yeah. Alrighty, we're hitting that time. Anything else you guys wanna touch on? Good,
No,
good.
until
Nah.
next week.
Yeah.
Oh, Raptors play today.
Did they?
Yeah.
You mean the Tampa Bay Raptors?
Wait. Before we talk about sports, like and subscribe, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, yeah, do that, all that things. All right. So Raptors,
Preseason game 1 today. They're back.
nice.
Now I need to like figure out what to do with my time. If basketball's back on, then hockey's back on. Maybe I should just quit sports. F sports, you know? I don't need sports.
And we're cutting it off
You
here.